And welcome back to the Hot Lap. Coming up in our United States Grand Prix Fallout show, could four other drivers have failed that FIA plank test? Martin Brundle stating that the FIA should have checked all cars. Mercedes being embarrassed by that disqualification, and Haas are saying lots to come on their upgrade. But first, plot twist, we're going to be looking at Martin Brundle talking. This is an article on WTF1.com. Martin Brundle believes that the FIA should have checked all cars after the disqualifications. And so WTF1.com is reporting that besides wondering what on earth a skid block is, it says plenty of questioning why the FIA didn't go on to check all of the cars following, obviously, Hamilton's and Leclerc's disqualification. This includes Formula One driver and Sky pundits Martin Brundle. Let's see if we can make that better for you. So after the US Grand Prix, it was announced that Leclerc and Hamilton had been referred to the stewards for inspection, and essentially, in the end, they were disqualified. Now, normal protocol is for the FIA to conduct, as we've been made aware this week, random extensive checks after basically the end of a Grand Prix as a result of post-race scrutineering. But if half your sample size, and that's 2 or 4 cars, fail the checks, would that not prompt you to at least check the other cars? A lot of people are scratching their heads, let's say, including our very own Martin Brundle. Now, in his post-race column on Sky Sports F1, he wrote, after the race, 4 cars were checked, including Verstappen's Red Bull, Norris's McLaren, and both Hamilton's Mercedes and Leclerc's Ferrari. They were, and obviously Hamilton and Leclerc, their Mercedes and Ferrari respectively, were found to have too much wear, for which the only remedy is disqualification. However minimal the indiscretion, there can be no grey area on this. Completely agree, Martin. He said the next big question, however, is that if 50% of the tested cars failed, then shouldn't all the finishers have been checked? The answer must surely be yes. Now imagine if every car was checked and 2 days later we found that everyone had been disqualified aside from Max, Lando and Logan Sargent from no points to a podium. What a wild ride that would be. Do you agree with? Well, I kind of, in a way I do. The problem is that, as we mentioned, is there's too little people and too many teams to absolutely check. And the other issue that could be is by the time they were chosen, and by the time the stewards went through and it was deemed illegal, I imagine there's every chance, but I could be wrong, that all the teams had already started packing up and removing the cars, ergo kind of like touching the scene, let's say, making it kind of infertile, so to speak. So anyone could be like, well, yeah, we always sand down the plank. That's an old plank. There could be a number of excuses at that time because there had been hours and there'd been mechanics around the car. But who knows? So, but talking about planks, Planet F1, Thomas Meyer, has got speculation arises over 4 other drivers who could have failed the FIA plank test. Who could it be? So, if the FIA stewards had pulled aside more cars for plank test after the US Grand Prix, could there have been more disqualifications? Planet F1 asks. So following the race at the Circuit of Americas, the stewards, well, that was trippy from that advert, sorry. The stewards carried out their usual underfloor plank checks by pulling out 1 car from each of the top 4 teams to finish the race. 2 of the 4 cars were found to have excessive wear on the planks, as we know, Leclerc and Hamilton. Peter Windsor points to the stint length as a potential contributing factor. Now, appearing on his post-YouTube stream, the former F1 team manager and journalist Peter Windsor examined the scenario and said he believes those long first stints when the cars were at their heaviest may have been a contributing factor in the excessive wear rates as both Leclerc and Hamilton went along. He said, everybody makes mistakes for a start, Windsor said. It's the same for everybody. The complexity of the sprint weekend, the bumps, the wind, everything else, the same for everybody. So no excuse in that area. But I would like to point out one thing that I think is significant in all of this, and that is the length of the stints, particularly the first, when the cars are full of fuel and at their heaviest and at their most prone to do damage to the skid pads. So stint 1 is a really important phase of the race if you're going to be right on the edge of legality with the skid pads, Peter Windsor said. Charles Leclerc did 23 laps on his first set of tyres with that off the line with a heavy load of fuel. And as we know, Ricciardo also kind of went for that one-stop strategy, originally doing 22 laps. Hamilton, they kept him out for a long time, as we know, 20 laps, even though he was on a two-stop, and that was to try and get his offset when he'd be in a good shape at the end. Lance Stroll, Peter says, 20 laps. Hulkenberg, 19. Alonso, 19 laps. And then he retired with a collapsed floor, which he said was quite interesting. Bearing in mind, Aston Martin did debut this new floor, but I think Alonso may have tried the older one. But anyway, Pierre Gasly, 18 laps. Lando Norris, 17. So now you're getting into an acceptable Carlos Sainz, 17. Could have those cars, I think, kind of like what Martin Brundle says, absolutely, they could have failed at scrutineering. Unfortunately, it's going to be one of those things now where we will kind of never, ever know. But talking of those flaws, Lewis Hamilton has basically been saying Mercedes have been embarrassed by the United States Grand Prix disqualification. That's from James Allison. This is from skysports.com, F1, Sky F1. It says Lewis Hamilton, Leclerc, as we know, they were excluded. Pretty much every story starting like that. But it goes on to say that Mercedes technical director, James Allison, there we go, sorry about that. James Allison says the team were left embarrassed by Lewis Hamilton's DQ from the US Grand Prix. Now, Hamilton and Leclerc, they've been excluded, as we know, from their places. The 7-time world champions disqualification means that instead of closing to within 19 points of Perez, it's pretty much been doubled almost to 39 with just 4 rounds remaining. Now, speaking in Mercedes post-race debrief, Allison has said, of course, the disqualification is a significant blow. It's miserable feeling. It hurts. Everybody here feels it. Now, everybody is upset, embarrassed to a degree as well, because we absolutely don't like being on the wrong side of the rules and are just lamenting those lost points. Now, after Mercedes brought a final significant upgrade of the season to the W14, Hamilton produced a hugely impressive weekend, which saw him narrowly lose out to the other Red Bull, just by a couple of seconds. Allison said that the progress made in terms of performance will help the team get over that disappointment of disqualification. He added, give it a day or two, and that will start to wane and be replaced by the much happier feeling, which is we moved our car forward this weekend, and it's hard to do that. He went on to say, but we did it, and we did it by a decent amount. And with 4 races left in the championship, 4 races where I am pretty sure we will stay on the right side of the skid block rules. He went on to say, the initial feeling of hurt and disappointment and frustration of ourselves will pass to be replaced by the sunny optimism, knowing that the car looked bright on this upgrade package, and we've got 4 more races to show what we can do with it. So what do you think? I do feel if Mercedes only just, and we're talking just like by the absolute slimmest of margins, just failed that test, then okay, fair enough. I can kind of understand. And that car is a lot better. Lewis Hamilton has pretty much said for the first time it actually feels like something worked for a long time on the car. And he mentioned that the back end is good. The back end is good. So he's not obviously referring to his rear, he's referring to the car's rear. But there we go. Haas, though, lots to come from their major F1 update. Despite shaky Austin start, I think that's putting it somewhat lightly. That shaky start, it was an absolute disaster, I think. Bearing in mind, there was hope that it's going to be faster. But as we said in, I think, our US Grand Prix review show, I feel that in relation to the Haas, they only had that one practice session to set up. They're not as big a team as Mercedes. I'd like to think with 3 practice sessions at Mexico, surely they have got a chance of getting it right. But anyway, Haas insists its 2023 Formula 1 car will improve a lot more, thanks to a compromised major upgrade, despite the package underperforming. So there we go. So this is from motorsport.com. Now, in a bid to add performance and finally cure an in-race tyre wear problem that has hobbled it the whole season, Haas has brought a key update. Now we're looking at new floor, new side pods, new engine cover. And they brought it to Austin to become the last team to converge down the downwash side pod design pioneered by Red Bull. But Kevin Magnussen and Hulkenberg, they struggled to notice any of those gains. And it goes on to say, to refine car setup, both then took a pit lane start on the US Grand Prix on Sunday. The rear wing specs were changed to break park firmware regulations, and disqualifications from Hamilton and Leclerc They end up finishing 11th and 14th, which is not too bad. Haas chief designer, Andrea Di Sordo, he insisted that the upgraded VF23, it now has a platform and can be extensively developed. He said it is already better. It is a little better than the old package. The fact that also performance is better in these early days here, I think is a good point. And he went on to say, we have something that's performing a little bit better, but we know that we can develop a lot more of the platform. So all in all, even if you didn't expect a big step, I think what we are seeing is positive. And let's hope that's the case for Haas. I really want them to do well in Mexico. I want every team to do well. Let's hope they can score a few more points and make it a bit more exciting at the back of the field. The dear old Haas team, currently America's only F1 team. Will that change? Hopefully we'll find out by the end of the season. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. This has been the Hot Lap. Sorry for the quick show. We will be, though, doing our Grand Prix preview tomorrow, looking at our talking points, looking at the track, etc. Stay tuned. Like and subscribe if you want to. If you made it to the end of my rambling, you definitely are a multiple world champion today. And we'll speak to you next time. Thank you.